and this is our presentation on our emotion and happiness.
I am Jack, and I will be providing you with an overview on our presentation with a table of contents here. First, we'll start off with our introduction, then we'll move to our research questions, then our methods, and finally we'll move into operationalized happiness, which includes our theory, definitions from other disciplines, expert interviews, and the definition of happiness from a sport fan's perspective.
We selected happiness as our emotion because we felt as though happiness has a large impact on our behavior and habits as people. One common theme across every person from all cultures is the pursuit of happiness. Happiness is something that is always sought after, but never necessarily something that's looked deeper into.
Happiness can be defined overarchingly as a sense of well being, joy, or contentment, and, as aforementioned, the pursuit of happiness is something that drives all people.
Some methods that can be used to take a deeper look into happiness and the relationships it has with people are conducting surveys, active observation, and questionnaires. We took special interest on how to measure happiness from a sports fan perspective.
When developing our research questions, our main goal was to ultimately define the concept of happiness from a sport fan's perspective. In our pursuit of this goal, we also came to the conclusion that in order to define happiness from a sport fan perspective, we would also have to develop a Likert type scale to measure happiness in sports fans. Our method to achieving our goals and answering our questions was to review academic articles pertaining to the concept of happiness, as well as interviewing experts in the field and analyzing content we got from the two. There are multiple different theories that relate to happiness and the role it plays in our everyday lives. These theories include how happiness affects people psychologically, as well as how it affects them in the professional aspects of their lives and the role it plays in their communication. In our presentation, we hope to lay out how happiness is defined in the context of those different disciplines. We will also present to you our findings from expert interviews and eventually define happiness from a sports fan's perspective.
The first theory on happiness we looked at was the theory of positive psychology, and it talked about happiness from a psychological standpoint. Martin Seligman was the originator of the theory, and it places emphasis on understanding of positive human functioning. Also, within his theory, Seligman places importance on positive emotions and meaningful experience in life, and suggests that one's happiness and well being are formed by 5 core elements. These elements are positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. And from what is known as the PERMA model, and is overreaching framework that Seligman uses to break down and understand happiness.
For our next section of theory, we selected the determinants of consumer happiness and its role of customer loyalty by Khan and Hussein. The research found that the satisfaction, engagement, and meaningful experiences all play a role in consumer happiness. And overall consumer happiness can be a good indicator of how loyal a consumer will be to a brand. Interestingly, they found that consumer engagement had the most influential impact on consumer happiness, meaning that the more a consumer felt involved in a part of the brand, the more they saw their relationship with the brand as positive, and therefore the greater their feeling of satisfaction and happiness. The third theory we used in our pursuit to operationalize happiness was happiness economics by Carbonell. In this theory, Carbonell discusses the use of satisfaction questions to acquire and assess information on individuals' likes and dislikes in relation to relevant issues, and how that can be used as a proxy to assess happiness. These relevant issues can include income, inflation, health status, employment status, and job benefits.
Some key words from the theories above included are excitement, achievement, fulfillment, and winning. Happiness often comes from meaningful communication, living by our core strengths, and feeling valued in our work. Gordon, 1985, highlights that our greatest joy comes from deep interpersonal connection. Seligman, 2002, emphasizes that using our moral strengths daily brings fulfillment. Jiang et al., 2001, adds that happiness at work stems from feeling content and appreciated. Together, these ideas show that happiness is built through connection, purpose, and supportive environment. While searching for definitions of happiness, we came across a few sets of key words, and some of them meaning, include meaning, strengths, well-being, and satisfaction. It is important to find meaning. It's less about money and more about satisfaction, expectations, and overall well-being. True happiness is shaped by purpose, perception, and connection.
In our pursuit to operationalize happiness from a sport fan's perspective, we also interviewed two professionals in the sport industry to see what they had to say about happiness and its relation to sport participants and sport consumers alike. Our first interview was with Brian Whitmer, and we chose him for his extensive experience in organizing and managing international sporting events. Brian has been traveling the world and has been involved with organizing sports for over a decade, and has even had the honor of being selected as the head coach of the Czech national lacrosse team. During our interview, we asked Brian, in a sports context, what brings you happiness? To which he replied, well, as a player, coach, and someone who works in sports, I think what brings me the most happiness is personal growth and achievement. When I notice I am better than I was before. I think winning, although it isn't everything, plays a big role in the happiness of a team and its players. Our next expert was Connor Wilson, who is the co-owner and operator of the biggest lacrosse tournament in North America and works as an AD at a small private college in New York City. I have had the pleasure of working with Connor and was excited to be able to pick his brain about this topic. During the interview, we asked Connor, what do you think of happiness when you've experienced it in a sport-related context? And what moment do you think of when you think about that? To which Connor answered, out of all the happy moments I have experienced in sport or through sport, my happiest moment was winning a conference championship at Wesleyan. It was truly a great accomplishment in my athletic career and something I still look back on. After reviewing the interviews we had with Brian and Connor, we found some keywords that stuck out and kept being used in our conversations regarding happiness in a sports context. Those keywords were winning, achievement, and content.
This slide is operationalized definition of happiness from a sports fan perspective that we all came up with. From a sports fan's perspective, happiness can be defined as an emotion that can be defined as an emotion that can be elected by the success or accomplishments of a sports team and is derived from excitement. For sports fans, happiness is driven by their team's success, fueled by excitement and pride in their accomplishments. It's a joy of victory and the connection to a team's journey. Skill development varies across disciplines. In psychology, it's focused on measuring internal constructs like emotions and behaviors with precision. In business, it assesses key metrics such as customer satisfaction and employee performance to inform strategic decisions. In communication, it evaluates the effectiveness and interpersonal interactions and information exchange. Each approach demands rigorous design to ensure validity and reputability. In the Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle defines happiness as a sort of living and faring well. We kept that in mind when developing these skills, and we hope to create to a way to create questions to measure happiness from psychological perspectives. Most mornings, I am excited to get out of bed. I am happy with the direction I am going in life. I appreciate the things and people in my life. My mental health slash state is relatively stable.
According to the definition of happiness as a short term emotional state, brand happiness is defined as a moment based consumer's experience of pleasant emotions released at different brand touchpoints. We looked to develop scales of measure that reflected this definition and provided us with a good understanding of consumer happiness. The following scales of measure are what we came up with. I am satisfied, my expectations were met, I would recommend, I would buy again, and this product makes me happy. Fisher states that happiness is the form of pleasant moods and emotions, well-being, and positive attitudes. And for these scales, from a business and communication perspective, we sought to measure the positive attitudes and emotions, pleasant moods, and well-being of people when it pertains to their work. The scales we developed are as follows. At work, my moods are mostly pleasant. My work does not harm my well-being. I have a positive attitude towards my work. I do not dread the upcoming work week.
A fan's favorite team can oftentimes have a lot of influence on their happiness. Fans get happiness from seeing a team play and from seeing their team win. Happiness can also be obtained through losses. Sometimes it's just about the experience of watching or participating in a game or sport. I think pure happiness is obtainable. Happiness can be a choice that we can make, and therefore we can obtain it. Happiness played a big role in sports. It influences both participants and fans. Participants often get happiness just from playing the game because they have love for the sport. Fans also get happiness from watching their team play and also win. Oftentimes, fans enjoy being around friends and family while watching the game, and this experience brings them happiness and joy.
And here are references. Thank you for watching.